Welcome back to Extra Time, everybody. I'm Greg Lawless alongside Shep and Jason, the producer. Act 2, Fire on the Mountain, as in the great old Meters song. The Chicago Fire are looking to stay on top, if you will. They're not. Who are the Meters? Oh my goodness.
Right.
It might be an age thing.
I think I know the song.
One of the best bands from New Orleans ever. Remember the Neville Brothers?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Get back to something I know about.
The Los Angeles Galaxy are playing at the Chicago Fire on Wednesday night. That's tonight. Lots of stories in this one, obviously. Both teams going through some strange little upheavals, if you will. Beck's red card, obviously, is a big part for the Galaxy. They're not going to have David Beckham in this game.
I think this is a greatly anticipated matchup for all the right reasons. Chicago, and we've picked on them before, they're doing better at home now. I think 2-0 won the last three games. LA, I've been touting them all year. I think they'll be okay without David Beckham. I think the key is Landon Donovan. He had the issue with the swine flu, and will he be 100%?
And they also don't have Eddie Lewis.
Yeah.
Does that hurt more?
That's what I was going to say is having no Lewis and no Beckham, that takes two players out of the midfield. You don't know the status of Edson Butto, Leko Eskandarian. Now you're getting into the depth of the LA Galaxy, which I'm not sure there's enough of to get through. What I will say is Gonzalo Segares is out for Chicago with some injuries, so maybe we see Landon Donovan playing on the right side of the midfield to kind of attack the weakness in the Chicago backline.
Right, especially if Buttle or Eskandarian can go up top, that gives them that other option up top. We've talked about Chicago and their struggles at home. They're getting better at Toyota Park. They're 2-0-1 in their last 3 home matches. However, some problems in the locker room right now with Chicago. We recently heard the report about a scuffle between head coach Dennis Hamlet and center back Bakary Soumare. The team issued an announcement saying that they were both fined for their actions. It's obviously a serious situation for them. How much does it hurt them?
I actually think it helps them. First of all, both of those guys, Dennis Hamlet and Soumare, quality human beings. And tough guys. I want to see that fight. But I like it. This is not high school soccer. This is pro sports. You're going to have those scuffles. Chicago had it last year in the locker room, Conde and Blanco. I think it's good for the team.
I think Chicago's like the 90210 of MLS. They have all the drama in their locker room with Blanco, Conde, Soumare now. But the one thing about Soumare for me is that's a guy you need on the field, especially with Conde coming back from injury. Chicago has some depth, but when you're playing the best teams in MLS, you want to have Soumare and Conde on the field.
Well, Samare's been training with the team this week, and Los Angeles and Chicago obviously both in very good positions to make it into the playoffs. There's some other teams, however, that are on the brink. The playoff race in MLS is really tightening up. Still about 10 games to play for every team, or about 10 games. But things are already tight. Let's go over the playoff format really quickly once. The top 2 teams in each conference automatically make it into the playoffs, and then it's the next best 4 regardless of conference. So it's a great format, number one. It makes it exciting earlier in the season as you have more people chasing. Right now, Colorado holds that last playoff spot, but teams behind them include the New England Revolution on the other side already chasing them. How great is the format? DC United now on the other side chasing. So how great is the format?
Yeah, it's excellent. And we see it in how these are meaningful games, really with so many games left to play. Nobody wants to be left out. Right. Everybody is still, not everybody, but most teams
not
still
New York
chasing,
and not San Jose.
still chasing a playoff spot. Right. I think it's testimony to that format you just mentioned.
And you never want to see the 5th team in, let's say, the Eastern Conference who has more points than the 4th team in the Western Conference. They don't make it into the playoffs. You want the best 8 teams in there.
Well, the New England Revolution right now are 6 points behind the Colorado Rapids. However, they have 2 games in hand. Can this Revolution team, a lot of veterans, or you could say maybe aging, either way you want to look at it, can they catch up?
I think the schedule is in their favor, but I don't think they can. I think the best thing they have going for them is Stevie Nickel and Paul Mariner. They're going to do a great job with what they have on the field. But without Taylor Twellman, I don't think so.
Right. Well, Shauri Joseph playing very well, but they've had to play him at striker sometimes in order to deal with that. Chivas, they finally won against New York, so I don't know if we count that for. Does that count for 3 points still?
It counts for 3 points, but I'm not sure how much respect it earns.
Yeah, maybe not. Do they have enough to really finish it out and make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I think the one thing we saw from Chivas this weekend was Sasha Kleshton, a lot more active, a lot more involved, and they needed that. And maybe Padilla comes and he adds another element. I'm not saying they don't have a shot at it. Obviously, they have a shot because they're holding a place right now and have games in hand. But this Chivas team doesn't seem strong enough to hold it.
I think they are, and they have a healthy Galindo, so I think they can make it. Jesse Marsh, to me, under the radar screen, he's always been a great player. He's awesome sweeping in front of the back line.
Real Salt Lake making a small move in their last couple of games, a win and a draw against good Western Conference opponents. Seattle, they got the win. Houston, the draw. It was 0-0. But they've brought in some new players. Nelson Gonzalez has been brought in. Rashid El Kafe. Are these guys the solution they needed in Salt Lake, Jason?
I think they were brought in to add depth. I think they have a good, let's say 11, 12 players that they can play with and compete with and should be competing for a playoff spot. I don't know that those guys are really going to change things for them. I think what's going to change things for them is their mentality. This weekend they showed it against Houston that they couldn't do it. Everything's set up for them to win that game. Houston goes down a man. That's 3 points for them, right? Playing for more than a half up a man, and they didn't get it.
I could say the same thing about their final game in the playoffs last year against Red Bull.
Everything was set up,
but didn't.
And they didn't. Well, Kansas City lost in Peter Vermes' debut as a coach. They didn't have Davey Arnaud or Claudio Lopez, so that makes a difference, obviously. NFC, Dallas also chasing, but they're still 7 points out of the playoffs. They're doing better, and then they lost again.
It's still Dallas.
It's still Dallas. You're right. Well, that's all we have today. On Thursday in Act 3, our ET Cup will spilleth over.